they're matching up nicely on the draw. So we'll stretch it out to 600 if we can find ourselves a target, but so far so good. We drove up here and spotted a target at 996 yards. I couldn't resist and I hit it on my first shot.
There it is.
Got it.
Heard it ring.
Ooh, that takes a long time for that to come back. Folks, you can buy a lot of great rifles these days and a lot of outstanding scopes for those rifles. You can choose a lot of great cartridges and bullets, but where do you go to buy the complete package? Well, that's what this show is about. A rifle scope that's designed as a turnkey. You don't have to add the scope. You don't have to decide which ammunition it likes the best. It's all done for you by StealthVision. What the heck is this? That's what I asked when I was invited to visit their plant in Texas last summer. My good friend Larry Weishuhn called and said, hey, you're going to check these guys out. They've got something different. And I thought, yeah, another scope company. There's a million of them anymore. What's it going to be? Some cheap Japanese junk, or even worse, Chinese junk? Well, turns out the Japanese and the Chinese and everybody else build some pretty good scopes these days. How do you choose one over the other? Well, what StealthVision is all about is an optometrist, Dr. John McCall, putting this together because he is an international hunter. He's been on something like 37 safaris to various countries. So he's real particular because he's an optometrist. He does eye surgery. So he thought, let's design a scope sort of from the eye out. And how can we optimize everything, especially for long-range shooting? Once he got into long-range shooting, he discovered one of the biggest problems is cant. Everybody tends to lean over a little bit and cant their rifle. No big deal out to 300-400 yards. But when you start reaching farther than that, you've got a difference in the drops because your scope is now canted, so that vertical crosshair is no longer coming down onto your target. When you select a different reticle line, a sub-reticle underneath, it's suddenly over here at the side, and then you push the scope over to get that little crosshair on the target, and the bullet is literally dropping off to the right side, vice versa on the left side. How do you get rid of the cant? Bubble levels are getting to be pretty popular. You can get them to mount on top of your scope. Some have them in the rail underneath, the Picatinny rail, have a little bubble in there so you can reference that bubble. But then you have to take your eye out of the scope to do it. So what Dr. John McCall was looking for was a system that kept his eye in the scope on the target, and he would have a clear indication that he was level. And this is what he came up with in this StealthVision scope line. He put a bubble level in the eyepiece. Not only that, but he put a green light on it, so when you're within 1 degree of perfectly plumb, the little green light comes on. So you can concentrate on keeping your reticle on your target, and when the green light comes on, you know you're clear to shoot. So pretty nice little system. Well, he went beyond that. Instead of just offering this scope to folks who could put it on for themselves, and you can certainly do that, he decided to also offer the complete package. So he teamed up with a number of rifle manufacturers. Seekins Precision using the Havoc action, which we have here. He also uses Altera, Blue Mountain Precision, and I think Montana Precision. So he's very selective about the rifles. He wants top-end stuff, top-end rifle for a top-end scope. Well, then what he does is has his buddy Joe Cunningham tailor everything for you. So as the customer, you say, I would like to have, in this case, a 6mm Creedmoor set up for deer or coyote hunting and shooting out to 1,000 yards or 1,200 yards or something. What do you recommend? And they will recommend one of these rifles, and you get to choose which one you would like. And then they'll talk to you about their various scopes and which size you would like. And then they say, well, what kind of ammunition would you like to shoot? Which bullet would you prefer? Or do you want us to just figure it out for you? Some of us might say, well, listen, I want to hunt deer with this, so I want a Swift Sirocco as my hunting bullet. So set it up for that. And that's what John will do. Now, if that particular bullet doesn't shoot very well, it's not accurate, he'll ask you if you want an alternative, because he wants to have at least 1 MOA of precision out of that rifle setup. So you're going to have an option to choose. But the idea is you get that one load to match the scope, and then you continue to use just that, and your scope will always be consistent. So he built me this test rifle in a 6 Creedmoor and put his smallest scope on it, and this one is a 3-18, 44mm objective, which I find is more than big enough and bright enough to do what I need to do when I am hunting. And then we've got all the advantages of this StealthVision system with the bubble level and everything. So when I got this in, I normally would sit up on the bench and shoot some 100-yard targets and make sure everything's hunky-dory. But because this was sold as a turnkey system already set up, I thought, why don't I just baptism by fire, throw it on the long range. We just happened to be up at Day Mountain Ranch getting set up for our annual elk camp, and we were setting some targets out, and I thought, hey, let me try this thing once. I ranged a target at about 44 yards or so, dialed that in the scope, went prone, and hit the target. So then we went out to a 650-ish yard target, dialed that one in, smacked it, then went to 996 yards, dialed that up, and smacked that. First round hits on all those targets. So I thought, boy, this thing is pretty close already. Now, those are pretty good sized targets, so I don't know exactly how precise each hit was. We're going to do more research today. So I'm going to start by zeroing this thing at 100 yards. And seeing what kind of a group we can get, and then keep extending our range and see exactly how well it performs. Now, one of the critical things to remember about a system like this when you set it up is at which elevation are you going to be hunting? You're going to be up in the mountains at 10,000 feet, you're going to be down at sea level. I have found that a good balance for most of my hunting is setting it up for about 5,000 feet. That is close enough with your drops and your trajectories because of the variable density of atmosphere at different elevations. You're going to be pretty spot on for targets out to 1,000 yards or so if you go for 5,000 and then hunt down to 3 or maybe 2 and then up to perhaps as high as 7 or 8. And that's 90% of all the hunting I do, so that works for me. But keep that in mind when you're ordering one of these. Well, let's jump behind this rifle. It was set up for the 6mm Creedmoor 108 grain ELD match bullet. Now, if I ever decide to change that, because I'm not going to be hunting with this bullet, I'm just going to be shooting targets. But if I ever want to change that and go to a better hunting bullet, I can have him make another turret. And I think the turret is part of the program. When you buy one of these, you will then get a turret, a remade for you. I think they do that free for nothing, but you're going to want to double check that. Well, if you are going to have an expensive, high quality, beautifully accurate rifle and scope setup like this, you really need to complement it with an equally fine knife. And this Diamond Blade Summit is a classic. Bone handle, full tang, little jimping up on top, and that incredible diamond blade friction forging that holds an edge 10 times longer than the next best tested steel. You want to check out Diamond Blade. We've got our parallax. Now there's a little button on the side that I push to activate the green light. That is now on. No more excuses. This is dangerous, dangerous. Okay, she's a little bit low. Might have to make a bit of an adjustment there. Yeah, that's not good. There we go. Well, that's not an impressive group, Grandpa Ron, but it does look like we need to do a little adjusting here. We shot a good inch. Yep, the average is an inch to the left. We'll correct for that. That should be good. .6mm Creedmoor, it's the 243 of the 21st century. Upper left diamond. My fault on that one. I want to put another one in there just to see if it's as bad as I thought I'd pulled it. See if this one goes into those first two. That felt good. That's down by the other one, so something to figure out. But what I want to do now, guys, is let that barrel fully cool down and see how it works on a cold shot. I don't know. And it just could be that the barrel needs to be cleaned. It also could be that they worked this thing up with a suppressor. I forgot to ask Joe if he did that, because when I was down there, we were shooting suppressors on everything, and I know they really like working with suppressors. Didn't ship with one, so he may have meant for me to put a suppressor on. I might want to do that and see if it'll consistently group. I'm going to clean this barrel and make sure. But I think the important thing is that this dial system, since it's turnkey, we ought to be able to trust it to drop one into the target at 300 yards, 500 yards, 800 yards, whatever we're shooting at. We're going to have to get some charts built up here for our wind deflections because the wind's picking up now, and that's going to affect things, but it'd be fun to find out. As I said, when I first shot it, 400, 600, 900 yard stuff, it was hitting the targets at those distances just by dialing the numbers, and that's really convenient when you look at this. And they're big numbers too. You look up and you see 7 for 700 yards, then you go 725, 750, 775, 800. Pretty nice stuff. So let's go see how we can clean up this barrel and maybe try one more group at 100, and then we'll go out for long range. Well, I'll tell you what we did, guys. I gave in. I cleaned the barrel, not extensively, but got the carbon out a little bit. And I put the suppressor on because I just think that Joe, he was always working with suppressors when I was there. I'm betting he got this thing all rigged up with a suppressor on it. So let's just see what happens now. We'll go for the lower left and see if this makes a difference. Anybody else see a mark in the paper? I do. I'm an inch to the right and 2 inches low in the black on the frame of that whole target. Do you see it?
Yeah, I got it now.
All right, well, let's just keep it there and hope I stay on the paper. Did it look like I enlarged the hole?
Yeah.
A little bit left on that one.
I think that did it.
Think that did it.
All 3 of them are clover leafing.
They're all piled right in there?
Yep.
Boy, that just goes to show you what the suppressor can do for you. Not only makes the rifle shoot like a 22 and sound about like that, but it often makes it more accurate. And I bet you any money this is what Joe was doing when he zeroed it for me. This is one of the greatest tools ever invented. And to think it's well over 100 years old and we can't use them until recently, it's crazy. Silly law. Sure enough, 1, 2, 3. Whoa, that is a group, guys. That goes to show. With rifles, you just add one little thing. And now, was it cleaning the barrel or was it the suppressor? I'm going with suppressor. Could have done one at a time and done more extensive testing. But the point is, don't give up on a rifle when you've got options like that. That's a quarter MOA group, maybe even a little less than that. That's the kind of precision we were looking for. You know, here's just an 1.125-inch group right there. That's not too horrible. MOA group there, a little less. Even this one's not too bad, but woohoo, that's what we're looking for. So we're shooting it with a suppressor. So I'll shoot at the same little target. Okay, so I'm exactly an inch under. I was aiming at the tip of the diamond. So I'm about 3/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch low, about a 1/2 inch low, I'd say. Budget or shoot one more. Right there, one on top of the other. All right, I'll go for the center of it. Straight up, 1.5. Just what's advertised. So it should be dead on at 200. Let's maybe visit the 300 yard. Dialed to 3. You see that little copper spot on the right? I think that'll be my aim point. Just an inch to the right of it.
Yeah, inch and a half.
And it's about what that little breeze right now is telling us. Let's take it out. We know this thing groups like a house of fire. So that next one, that little deer up on the hillside, getting close to 400. 386, 350, 75. That should be about it. All right, I'm going to be just in front of the leg, halfway up the body. About an inch, about 2 inches into the body from where I broke. Boy, the vertical is right where it's supposed to be so far. So that's getting close to 400 yards. I think we've got a 5 out there. See if I can see that. 5. And we're blowing a little bit to the right, so I'm going to hold probably an MOA into the wind on this one. But the verticals are hanging right in there like they're supposed to. All right, dead center, just off the left edge is what I'm going to do. Bingo. All right, well, this thing is proving to be just as precise and accurate as we thought from our first shooting out to 996 yards. So now we've got pretty much dead on hits at 300, 400, 500, 444, 645 I think it was, and 996. I don't know, guys, I think I'm satisfied. This system really works. I don't know, guys, that we even need to go way out there. You still want to do it just for the fun? And we probably will. We'll take a mat or something way out there and just see how far we can run this thing. It's supposed to dial up to 1200. Yeah, could easily do that. So take it back down to 0 and we're in business. See what we can do. Mr. Coyote, where are you? Right there. Should have brought a rear bag, but I'm thinking of this wind. I didn't dial anything. Kind of a significant part of this program, folks, is dialing. And that is one of the ways you get into trouble when you get into a scope like this. You've got to be comfortable and convenient enough and haven't done it enough times that you remember to dial, both out and back. It just doesn't work if you don't. Dead coyote. Not quite as much wind deflection as I thought I was going to get. This is another thing, guys. It's great to have a spotter, a two-man team. Once you shoot past about 500-600 yards, you really do a lot better with a two-man team. So the shooter concentrates on the hold, and the spotter calls the wind, tells you when to shoot. So that's kind of the way it works. But I think this rifle has pretty much proven itself. It's incredibly accurate, and this scope is dialing to where it needs to dial. We've done well initially with those first 3 shots out to 996 yards. We were spot on, but I think it's worth going with. If you don't like to build your own rifles, mount your own scopes and all the rest of the stuff, if you don't have time for that, this is a great way to get a package deal that's ready to go. Get it home, test it, make sure, like I just did, and you're golden. So we'll see if we can't keep this around for long enough to go to a hunting season of some kind. We're going to try to get some pronghorn tags, maybe do some coyote hunting. So we'll see you then. In the meantime, hunt honest and shoot straight. Dong diddy dong diddy dong or something. Rangefinder.